How did your family's genetics do you dirty? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. No male in my family, both paternal and maternal, has made it past 65. All of them, every single one, has died of cancer. I just turned 50 this year, and I take far better care of myself than any of them. But it is likely just a matter of time. Story 2. My family gave me the metabolism of a sloth, the hairline of a stressed potato, and the eyesight of a pirate squinting into fog. Basically, I'm 70% lasagna, 30% disappointment, and somehow still allergic to grass. Thanks, ancestors. Really nailed it. Story 3. Still getting acne breakouts at 25? Just because I touched my face at some point during the week. Others can dip their face in mud and will be fine. When is this puberty crap going to end? Not that it matters because my face is already scarred for life. Story 4. Plenty of mental health issues, all from my mom's side of the family. My great aunt has schizophrenia. My uncle had bipolar and addiction issues that led to a nasty criminal record before he died. My cousin, his son, has OCD, and I'm 99% sure that my other cousin, Asha, his sister, is an actual psychopath, or at the very least, a horrible person who takes joy in the suffering of others. As for me, I've got Asperger's, bipolar, and severe anxiety, with social anxiety being the main issue on the anxiety front. Surprisingly, my mom and her dad, my granddad, were skipped, but from what I know, everyone else has had some kind of bad mental issues, including my granddad's brother. Story 5 had a kid who was born deaf. Turns out my wife and I both carry the same rare recessive gene that leads to Usher syndrome. It causes one to be born deaf and lose their peripheral vision during their childhood. Story 6, I got hyperhidrosis, excessive sweat from my dad. My teenage years were because I could not wear clothes without having the largest pit stains. I became a goth so that my clothes wouldn't seem so obviously wet. I wore black all day, every day. Finally had surgery to fix this when I was 17. Changed my life. Story 7, my dad gave me his weight issues. My mom gave me her depression, anxiety, and thin hair. Oh, and small tits. I've thankfully scrapped by without developing my dad's addiction issues too, knock on wood. Though I will say, with the bad, I've also gotten some good. I have my dad's adventurous spirit and motivation to thrive in life, while also having my mom's good-hearted nature. Story 8, I'm allergic to everything that grows outside thanks to my dad, and I have everyone's arthritis burden. I got arthritis so you don't have to, not to mention my grandma's hips. Sigh, my mom called me thunder thighs when I was a size 5. Story 9, I got a fun combination of migraines, Ehlers-Danlos, neurodiversity, and 10 wisdom teeth. Now that I'm in my 50s, I'm finally able to get work done to fix the crappy extractions and problems left by the last dentist. At least getting things repaired has brought down the number of migraines. I don't feel gross smiling now either, now that crowns and veneers were installed to remove all the cracked enamel. Was hoping to get a diagnosis of autism, ADHD, or both this year, but I don't want to end up on any lists. With story 10, nature dramatically trumps nurture. I thought I escaped a life full of ADHD, OCD, and spectrum, only to give birth to it. Also, addiction is a cruel master. I lived with these people growing up, tried like hell to give my spawn a great life, only for them to have the same issues. Nature points at me and laughs for thinking I could do better. Story 11, I am diagnosed by professionals with autism, generalized anxiety disorder, ADHD, OCD treatment, resistant depression, severe dyslexia, severe dysgraphia, familial hypercholesterolemia, genetic predisposition towards diabetes type 2, congenital spinal stenosis. Both parents also had to have fusions pretty early on. That's mostly it. My siblings all fall along the same line, but to varying degrees. Story 12, thick Irish blood, high blood pressure at 42, stents at 57. Brother died at 42 of a heart attack. Mom had congestive heart failure. She did live to 87, but had a stroke at 80, four-way bypass at 75. My dad had high BP, had a four-way bypass at 56. He lived to 88, died of cancer. Without all the medications for high cholesterol and high BP, I don't think my parents would have lived that long. I'm 65, on 3 meds for high BP and cholesterol. Story 13, I'm the only one of my siblings, 4, who has to wear glasses, started losing hair at 17, and got attacked by one of the worst cases of acne ever seen, leaving my face scarred. Also, I'm genetically inclined to testicular torsion. Luckily for my bothers, they didn't have to find out like I did. Plus, you know that all people got five senses? I can't smell. 40 software. Story 14. My entire family has lived into their 90s, except for my parents, non-smokers and non-drinkers, who died of different cancers at 51 and 55 years old. I'm 60. My younger sister is a cancer survivor. And while currently healthy, I'm terrified. I've treated my body worse than any of them. Story 15. Body type and metabolism. Growing up, I was slim and athletic and never seemed to gain weight. Like nearly everybody on my mom's side of the family, all the women are petite as hell and stay that way as they age. I mean, mom was a cheerleader and kept her looks and figure all her life. I hoped I would be like her. But as I got older, no. Matter how much I tried to watch my weight, I began to get rounder and dumpier. Like the women on my dad's side. They are all short and thick and continue to get thicker. I'm beginning to look like my paternal grandma and all my aunts and cousins on dad's side. I think genetics has doomed me. Story 16. I have acne scars because of my dad. Mental health as well. Dad's family is not the brightest bunch, and my grandmother has histrionic disorder. The rest of my mom's family has massive anxiety. It's generational. I developed the following: adjustment disorder, depression, generalized anxiety, and DPDR. Yay! Story 17. Apparently, I have my grandfather to thank for the fact that I'm 30 and already going gray. Having a high-stress job probably didn't help, but I'm more gray than my boss, who is a decade older than me. Story 18. Family has a history of diabetes, heart disease, Crohn's, and autism. At 40, I have autism and Crohn's, but every male on my mother's side of the family was bald before 20, and I still have a full head of hair, despite the medication I take, including recently infusions. Saying hair loss is a side effect, I am still beating it. Story 19. Scoliosis, several autoimmune issues, hypermobility that my physical therapist thinks is EDS, ADHD, addictive personality, unstable mood, just the works. Autism isn't quite losing the genetic lottery, but it's definitely had its problems. Plus, I got a boatload of trauma to make all of those traits worse. Lost the genetic lottery and didn't even get a stable home life to make up for it. Story 20. My family is pretty tall on my dad's side and pretty tiny on my mom's side. Basically, both my younger siblings were taller than me growing up, and genetics hit me so bad that I was at the doctor various times in my childhood because I stopped growing at age 15. My mom is 5'1" or 156 meters, and I am a good chunk below that, 4 centimeters over dwarfism. My siblings are 5'9" or 180 meters. It's hard to get taken seriously most of the times. Story 21. Predispositions to mood disorders, fibromyalgia, obesity, diabetes, skin cancer, and possibly ankylosing spondylitis. Most struck before I hit 25, though I'm 41, and the diabetes is still in the pre-state, and I'm still cancer-free. That said, both my parents were smarter than the average, and I got that too. So I got that going for me, which is pretty good. Story 22. Yeah, so I got great skin, lovely hourglass body, lovely hair, great tits and arse, all that physically. Mental basket case though, bipolar and alcoholism on my mother's side, ADHD and autism from my dad, and probably also my mother's side, LOL. So got a great body but have no idea how to dress it up to look great. Story 23. Being tall, but it's all in your torso. I'm not crazy tall, I'm 6'3", but since everything is made for people 6 inches shorter than you and or ADA accessible, every countertop is just too short for you to work on. My back is always hurting since I'm always hunched over to do anything at work. I don't fit in cars properly without having my head either tilted to the side or hunched over like Mr. Incredible in his shitbox truck. Rear view mirrors are exactly where a car would appear to the right side of an intersection. I've almost had an accident several times because I didn't see the car coming from behind the mirror. Also, the constant headbanging when someone set the seat higher than the lowest setting and you didn't expect it. I've hit my fingers in my ceiling fan when dressing more times than I can count. Ouchie. Also, I have zero ass, so pants slide right off if I'm not cutting off blood supply with my belt. Anyway, rant over. Still thankful I have arms, legs, eyes, ears, etc. Story 24. So almost everyone in my family is average to tall, for the New England area, as far as height goes. My mom is 5'7", dad is 5'11", brother is 6'0". All my uncles and male cousins range from 5'11" to 6'3", while my aunts, mom's mom, and female cousins are right between 5'6" and 5'8". This is including both my mom and dad's side BTW. Then there is me at 5'3", like my dad's mom, who was like 4'11" when she passed. Story 25. I am hot as but autistic, so I literally can't flirt to save my life. And I also can't tell when other people are flirting with me. I'm too awkward to get pretty privileged most of the time. Other people tell me I'm hot. I don't see it, but I guess I have a nice body and a good-looking face. Story 26. All three of my mom's sisters and countless other relatives of my mom have died due to drug addiction. So that's in my DNA. Schizophrenia and psychotic tendencies also run through that side of the family, as well as ADHD. Since I was 17 to 18, I haven't been able to smoke the most minuscule amount of weed without entering a sort of psychosis. Embarrassing LMAO. As an adult, after a bit of research, I basically concluded I have my genes to thank for that. Story 27. It seems I only inherited genes from my dad's side of the family. He was overweight, short, bald, and had a large nose and round face. I put on a pound if I eat a single piece of candy. I'm short, have very thin hair, my father's big nose, and his round face. My mom was a beauty who never lacked for male attention. I inherited only her brown eyes. No one has ever complimented me on my looks. Say you worrying. Story 28. I got the biggest bust in my entire family. Thanks, Dad's DNA definitely didn't get them from my mom. Nothing fits right. It's always a chore to find an affordable bra that fits, and I can't ever borrow any family members' clothes because at their biggest, their boobs are 8 cups smaller than mine. I can't even fit into any of my male family members' cloths because they are all smaller than me. My shoulders, upper back, and neck are being destroyed by their weight. It feels like electrified lances of broken glass are slowly being shoved between the joints and bones and arms, and at times I can't even lift my arms without executing pain. Yay, big boobs. Story 29. Vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, autism, and ADHD. I had my first full joint dislocation at 13 months old, and they just never stopped. I have dislocated almost every single joint in my body at this point, besides my spine. I'm also looking at heart surgery to repair or possibly replace my mitral valve in my mid-30s. My grandma had her first heart surgery at 47 and had multiple joint dislocations throughout her life. She was also definitely autistic, but not diagnosed. My mom has no heart issues at 68 besides POTS, but does have mild joint issues. She hasn't had genetic testing. We would have to travel 4 hours to have her diagnosed by the only geneticist in our area that also diagnosed me back in 2010. But I'm sure she probably has EDS as well. She tried getting an autism and ADHD diagnosis last year, but they said she was too old to be autistic, even though she ticks all the boxes for an official diagnosis in the DSMV and gave her the ADHD diagnosis so she could start meds for it. Story 30. Oh dear God, where do I start? My parents' family guarantees I have at the very least heart problems by 40 or diabetes. Both sides of the family has diabetes. My maternal grandmother had a stroke and has heart problems. My maternal grandfather died of cancer. My maternal great aunt has diabetes. My maternal second cousin died of cancer. My paternal grandfather died of cancer. My paternal grandmother died of multiple organ failure due to cancer. My father had a stroke. And that's just the physical aspects. Both sides have all kinds of mental illnesses. And I've inherited a lot of those, as is so. It's only a matter of time before I follow in my grandparents' footsteps and die of cancer as well. Some of these lovelies include anxiety, depression, bipolar, and addiction problems that I don't know the core root of because I'm scared to ask for details for fear of being nosy. Story 31. Rheumatoid arthritis. I used to love to draw when I was a kid. Paint wargaming minis, writing, all of those taken away. But thank God for computers so I can at least write via typing. Otherwise, that too would be gone. Bipolar disorder, autism, dyslexia. I could go on and on. I've also got the whole damn party mix of mental health issues. I will never have kids, ever. Never, ever. Story 32. For the ones that kinda don't matter, every man on my mom's side is over 6 feet with thick, full beards. Every man on my dad's side is over 6 feet with thick, full beards. I am 5'9", and I've been growing the same 10 mustache hairs for 14 years. I don't have any body hair. I have literally like 6 armpit hairs. Been like that since forever. I've accepted the fact that I'll probably never have a luscious mountain man beard. On the ones that actually matter: alcoholism, addictive personality, diabetes, cancer, and mental illness paired with southern toxic masculinity. Just bury those feelings deep down and never speak about them until you get drunk and snap is the family motto. I've always compared our family to backyard pit bulls. We're some damn good athletes and some hard workers, labor-wise, but we'll inevitably be born with health issues and mental disposition to bite the hand that feeds us. Story 33. Well, I have premature ovarian failure, and I have ADHD plus ASD, and am at risk for other disorders, all literally due to a single partial gene mutation. I also have an autoimmune disease, which is strongly correlated with genetics. Story 34. I had uneven boobs before I had kids, but it wasn't very noticeable. Now after 3 kids, one's a DD, the other is barely a B. I also had horrible overcrowding teeth before braces, like I looked like an alien. It was bad. And then there's the mental illnesses. Story 35. My mom has perfect vision, and my dad's is terrible. I wasn't allowed to play Game Boy for more than an hour a day to protect my eyes, but my vision is still awful. I would not be able to function without glasses. My brother grew up glued to screens 4+ hours a day. He still has perfect vision, and I am so jealous. Story 36. Bowel cancer. I come from Irish stock, big families on both my mom's and dad's side. A large percent of both my mom's and dad's siblings died due to bowel cancer. Dad actually died from encouraging lung cancer for 60 years. Bit hey-ho. He also had going on with his bowels. When I got my doctor to arrange a colonoscopy, I had to fill in a form with my family history. I don't know the exact numbers of each family who died because of the bowel cancer, but in any case, while I was filling out the form, the screening agency called me. I apologized for not having the exact details. The wonderful woman helping me said after I confirmed my identity, "Don't worry about those family details. We know all about your family." I was like, it's so bad that they know all about me already, just by me confirming who I am. That's quite... Colonoscopy was fine. Probably have the pleasure of another one soon. Story 37. Thanks to my dad, I'm very hairy. A lot of men in my family are, and cysts are very common because of that. I'm 25 and recovering from the surgery to remove my first one. I have a brother that got it 3 times already. He is 33 when my brother was 25. He had very nice hair. At 33, he is now balding. And an IC, I'm losing some hair every day. I also have a history of diabetes in the family. My mom, my aunt, 3 of my grandparents. I also have a history of cancer in the family. My mom, my dad, another aunt. 3 of my grandparents. I also have a history of strokes in the family. My dad, my sister, 3 of my grandparents. I also have a history of asthma in the family. I was the first, but now I have 2 other nephews with it. Story 38. More than I can even describe. I am the genetic garbage of the family, and fortunately, couldn't have children, so at least it stops with me. With the exception of a couple of things, if it's bad, I have it. Genetic heart defect, skin issues, weight problems, PCOS, the list goes on. Fortunately, I'm smart, so I did get some good stuff too. Story 39. My mom's side has always had weird gastric problems and a slow metabolism. Because of this, I have GERD and an extremely slow metabolism. I was always active and ate relatively healthy, but for some reason Jay was never skinny. It got better in HS, but I was 300 bonaler by senior year. I'm more sedentary and eat a lot worse, so I'm around 370 now, but that's after trying really hard to lose from 460. Story 40. MTHFR. Yep, looks like a swear word, but it's the gene that I have at least 2 mutations on. I would list the issues, but there are too many, suffice to say toxic buildup, because amino acids don't get produced or used properly by the body. Story 41. Both my parents have a short neck. I have like half a neck. My dad was an alcoholic. He stopped unwillingly due to being put in a hospital for a different reason. And I drink a lot. I will never be as bad as him. IDK much about either family side genetics, unfortunately. Story 42. I've had 2 different doctors comment on 2 different genetic oddities I've been blessed with. My dentist let me know that I've got a wide mouth and a big tongue. So even though I've got all that space, I still bite my tongue a bunch. And the other part is that he just happily told me I have a big mouth. The other was a podiatrist who told me I've got very wide toenails, which would be fine if I also had wide toes. So I'm prone to ingrown nails. Story 43. Well, the men in my family are either really short or really tall, usually no middle ground. I ended up 5'4" in, but my nephew, who is preteen, is already taller than me, so I know where he landed on this genetic lottery. In another way, our lifespans are either really short or really long, with no in-between either. My great-grandfather barely scraped to 60. My great-grandmother barely missed 100. My grandfather is following in his mother's path, while my father is having bad health issues just past 60. So, it's 50-50 when I reach those 50s. Story 44. I'm 27, but on my dad's side, COPD is the family curse. My dad, grandmother, and majority of her siblings all passed before age 60 from COPD. Granted, they were all smokers. On my mom's side, terrible spine health. At 27, I already have degenerative discs in my low spine. Story 45. I got a weak stomach. No in a sense that I get grossed out easily, but in a sense that even a slightly spicy meal will give me heartburn. I had heartburn when I was a young teenager, and since then had stomach issues after any meal. My body didn't like that day. This has come from my grandpa, to my dad, to me. Oh, and eczema. Horrible eczema that flares up to randomest. Again, from grandma to dad to me. Thanks, fam. Story 46. My parents and younger brother all have 20/20 vision. I am probably close to legally blind without my glasses, and it took my parents until 7th grade, after complaining about my eyesight for years, to take me to an optometrist and get glasses. My parents and younger brother have little to no allergies. I finally got tested in my early 30s, level 5 on basically every allergen, every grass, every tree is trying to murder me. Have had terrible tinnitus for years, despite no inner ear damage. Terrible eye floaters since I was a kid. Terrible teeth despite my best efforts. Semi-annual dentist appointments for cleanings. Also have zero overbite. Should have probably gotten braces in my youth. Not all bad. Fairly high intelligence. Always looked younger than my age. Never broken a bone. Knocks on wood. Story 47. All sorts of skeletal and skull abnormalities. Bung hearts. Autoimmune out our wazoos. Intolerances to gluten and lactose. Hypermobility. PCOS. Endometriosis. Bowel and stomach cancers. Leukemia. Mental health issues. To the point that geneticists have all recommended none of us reproduce. Story 48. Tomorrow will be the 1-year anniversary where I died. Twice, actually. Good old family heart attack came early. All from the mother's side, and all the men have actually died from heart attacks, and all of the women have had one. I have 2 birthdays now, I guess, so I got that going for me. Story 49. I always knew I would go bald. Every single male relative in both my mother and father's families went bald in either their 20s or early 30s. When it happened to me, I was not surprised nor particularly bothered. I am slightly annoyed that neither of my brothers went bald. Story 50. Dad's side of the family has an average height range of 5 feet, 9 inches to 6 feet, 3 inches with a full head of hair. Mom's side of the family has an average height range of 5 feet, 5 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, and a balding issue. I'm 5 feet 9 inches and have had hair loss in the past, requiring a hair transplant around the age of 25 to fix my hairline. Story 51. Autoimmune disorders. My father has Crohn's. My 2 aunts, his sisters, have colitis. My great-grandmother from that side had rheumatoid arthritis. As a result, I have ITP, a rare autoimmune disorder where my body kills platelets, making me a bleeding risk when it's acting up. Story 52. I am fat regardless of my activity level. Multiple autoimmune conditions, autism, ADHD, and intelligent enough to see how that all combined to me. And now my skeleton is dissolving, but IDK if that's genetic. Story 53. I'm adopted. When I was 27 years old, I had a heart attack and had to research my family history. I met my birth mother, grandmother, and uncle, and they started listing off all the health issues, and I have a couple of them. Then I met my father, and he gave me all of his family's issues, and I have a couple of those too. Oddly enough, my dad and I have a lot of the same illnesses. I've been telling them for about 20 years now that I am going to sue them because they made a defective product and then didn't stand by it. Story 54. Not sure yet. My grandpa had 3 brothers. They all died from heart attacks in their 30s. My grandpa survived all his heart attacks. Am I blessed with a good heart? I haven't had a heart attack yet, and I'm in my 40s. Plus, I don't smoke, and I drink moderately. What actually killed my grandpa was ALS. I get myself checked for that every 2 years right now. Story 55. Diabetes, high cholesterol, likelihood of breast cancer, mental illness, probably dementia later in life. And that's just my mom's side. I know nothing about the man whose genetic material helped to create me. I know that he died at 54, but I don't know how or why. Story 56. Mom is Chinese and dad is Aussie. I've got that hybrid vigor. I only got sick enough to stay home from school once every 2 or 3 years. My wife, on the other hand, has told me she thinks her dad's family line might literally be cursed. She lost, on average, 1 week per term of school due to sickness. She also got anxiety, autism, ADHD, and 2 disabled brothers who we might have to care for once her parents pass. I got genetic testing before having children to make sure I'm not a carrier of her brother's condition. Story 57. My ancestors gave me some nice big anxiety and a tendency to hang on to every little calorie. It's like no matter how little I eat, I'm like 20 pounds overweight. I wish that's all I was overweight right now. It's like I have to eat one meal a day and move a lot to just be a teeny tiny bit fat. I mean, it's not their fault. The biggest percentages of me are Irish and Native American. We've been well fucked over through the centuries. Story 58. Got that pixie dream tism, and I hate it because I enjoy being bubbly and nice, but people seem to fetishize it a lot, and it's weird. I act childlike, and the creeps really like it, and it's uncomfortable to be myself. Story 59. Mom had an intellectual disorder and was bipolar. She was literally treated like the R word of her family. They continued their behavior with me, even talked about me to my own child in front of me, like they were doing an intervention. You, Uncle Mark, you cokehead POs. On my dad's side, we all have the tism, apparently. My dad was literally like Spock. I wish I was kidding. Only no one was diagnosed then or knew about it. It was just normal to have a pocket protector wearing science nerd dad that made ozone in their dungeon basement for funsies. Family dinners with extended family were really fun because he had a morbid sense of humor and would always talk about death and all those taboo subjects. Story 60. Most of the older adults, all 4 grandparents, some older aunts and uncles have had terrible hearts. Like literally so bad. My grandfather was like 50 when he died, and 3 of them had diabetes, and my paternal grandfather had Parkinson's. My maternal grandmother died at 77 because her heart function was so bad that even a pacemaker couldn't keep it going well enough. My paternal grandmother wasn't even 70 and died during open heart surgery. I am fucked. Story 61. My mom was tall and willowy, with a gorgeous mane of hair, perfect skin, strong joints, and a metabolism that kept her slim until she passed at 80. My dad had thin, lifeless hair, was shaped like an apple as soon as he hit 40, and started feeling the osteoarthritis while still in his 30s. Guess? Just guess. Story 62. Got my mother's extremely crooked teeth and my father's brittle teeth. My mouth is a goddamn nightmare. The majority of my teeth are broken, and I've had way more dental work than 10 normal people would in their lifetime already. I'm currently looking into just getting them all out. I'm only 28. Story 63. My mom is half black, quarter Hawaiian, quarter white. My dad is part white, part Native American. All of my siblings have beautiful combinations of features. Tall, tan, athletic builds, thick, full heads of curly hair, black, brown, or bright natural red, clear, bright skin, green or hazel eyes, and then I'm the ugly duckling. Short, I'm a greenish purple type of pale, think every single vein is visible. Straight diarrhea-colored hair, orangish brown low. No curves at all, just skin and bones. Patchy, discolored, dull skin with lots of acne. Gray eyes? No, not blue, unfortunately. Just straight gray. I've grown up being so envious of my siblings. I also feel very disconnected because as the only white one in my family, I'm not able to participate in culture or anything. I'm just kind of there, but never connected in any way. Story 64. I got hammered with the now known mental illnesses of my maternal side, anxiety and panic disorder. On the other end, regarding something I didn't get but I wish I did, I'm not athletic, which pretty much every other male on the maternal and paternal side are. So that kind of sucks. But I didn't get the alcoholism that runs rampant on the paternal side. Thankfully, my dad didn't either. So I take that W at least. On the physical end, it was always going to be a 50-50 thing, but I've started seeing signs of the old diffuse pattern hair loss since about last year. But I'm also in my early 40s, and I've known plenty of unfortunate guys who went bald as a baby's ass in their 20s, so I'm not going to be too mad over it. Story 65 heads. I once dislocated my shoulder by falling down, and then for months after I couldn't sleep on my stomach, BC, I would dislocate it again. It's very painful to have to pop your own shoulder back into place. I once rolled my ankle just by standing up out of a chair. I was at my doctor's office and she laughed at me. My skin is super stretchy and looks like it's not fully attached to my muscles. My sister was able to turn her legs almost all the way around and then walk. It was wild to see. My brother's organs are pretty much falling. Think of a candle burning, but inside out. Depression and anxiety. Do I have to explain those? Story 66. My kneecaps sit so far out, I sprained my knee once, and my kneecap slid out. A year later, I stood up, and it slid out on its own and sprained my knee again. Surgery, and another year later, I now have a knee that aches on and off with an anchor from kneecap to femur, and I get to be constantly waiting for the day the same thing happens to the other one. Yay me. Story 67. Couldn't be allergic to common things like nuts, latex, medications. No, never. Plant life. Grass, bushes, scratches from branches, roots when gardening, leaves. Specifically that wet stuff that makes an appearance when you break any of these things. Hostas are the worst for this. I've blistered. Aloe vera. Who is allergic to aloe? Of course, pollen, which also stemmed in apple, pear, peaches, and nectarine allergies. As the pollen from those trees somehow translates into my mouth, getting itchy and irritated when I eat said fruits. Still lost on that, to be honest. Obviously, any animal with fur can be thrown in there. I get heart palpitations and developed allergic asthma. Anyway, thanks, Dad. I love it over here. Story 68. I tried looking into my family once and found that, on my dad's side, they have stayed in the same rural county since the 1740s and had like 10 kids every generation, and I've taken this to mean that my family's likely pretty damn inbred. So I stopped looking into it further, lol. Story 69. Scoliosis, which my mom denied was hereditary and blamed on my bad posture growing up, even though I took ballet. Then when I was 15, I finally went to a doctor who diagnosed me, but by then it was too late to do anything. Mom said, whoops. My brother has it worse though. Undiagnosed mental health conditions and was never tested as a child. My parents were very anti-mental health growing up. It wasn't until he became a severe alcoholic and got a DUI that he received some of the help he needed. And only then did my parents acknowledge that maybe they could have done more. Please take your kids to doctors. Story 70. I'm very, very painfully allergic to THC in all its forms. Makes my whole body feel like I'm racked with burning arthritis for up to 3 days after ingesting. It's not just me. Many people in my family too. Lots of them drink too much to compensate. Thankfully, I don't feel the need to do that. Being the only sober guy in the room at every party or bar visit is really fun and makes me super popular. Story 71. I used to joke that I got all the recessive genes because I don't look much like the rest of my family. Not adopted, just unusual coloring. Well, I had some symptoms and got some genetic testing done, and it turns out I was right. Thanks for the pile of autoimmune disorders. Story 72. My dad and brother are bearded and hairy. I take after my mum, though, who has never even needed to shave her armpits, apparently, which I assume for woman is the holy grail. But for a guy who just wanted to be a hairy, bearded guy, it's definitely a punch in the gut. Got the armpit hair, though, but who cares about that? Story 73. I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in my neck at the age of 20. I was told that I had the neck of a 70-year-old man, and it was genetic. I had days where I couldn't get out of bed because of the pain, and they said I would eventually need my neck fused. Fast forward 37 years later, and symptoms are nothing like they used to be. Arthritis still there, but no need to fuse yet. My kids, on the other hand, both have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It ruined both of their high school years and continues to haunt them. It seems to have come down from my dad, but he was too stubborn to talk to DRs about it. He passed last year with a bad heart valve. My mom currently battles stage 4 cancer. She lost her mom and 2 sisters to the same cancer. Her brother went through irradiation last year. I've been tested and don't have the mutated gene responsible for this, so I should not have passed it down to my kids. My brother has stubbornly chosen not to be tested. Genetics, yay! Story 74. My mom gave me a flat chest, and my dad gave me Ehlers-Danlos. That's not too bad, but then my mom had a little too much alcohol during her pregnancy, so she did me dirty there. Just not genetically. I'm so thankful I can't pass on fetal alcohol syndrome to my future children. My husband, on the other hand, was dealt with an awful hand of cards. He's the first male on his mom's side of his family to live past birth, and up until my husband was born, they had no idea why the males in the family never survived. That's because every woman on that side of his family carries the gene for hemophilia, and none of the previous males made it because they all died due to internal bleeding sustained during birth after they inherited the bleeding disorder. Medical knowledge was so limited way back then that nobody in our local healthcare system knew what hemophilia even was. As it is, my husband had to be resuscitated right after he was born. Had he been delivered vaginally rather than through C-section, he almost certainly wouldn't have made it. No. Story 75. Almost every person in my family has to wear glasses or contacts. 75% of both sides of my family, if not more, has diabetes. We all have teeth and multiple of us are missing some. I, at the age of 27, have to get a top denture BC. My teeth have deteriorated and broken BC of genetics, and so many more things. Story 76. My left leg is slightly shorter than my right leg, which means I was the only kid in middle school with back problems. I didn't get this sorted out until I was 30, so I had no relief for most of my life. The worst part is, my grandfather and uncle both had this problem, and no one thought to tell me about it. Story 77. My son was born with part of his fifth missing, and the 16th chromosome had taken it, so it's now too long. Turns out it was a translocation from me, and I likely inherited it from a parent, but we can't check BC, they both passed. Story 78. Oh yeah, found out I'm part black when we were brainwashed as kids to be native. Dad was super hairy, so yeah, I could shave my whole body, and within 3 days it could be partially grown back. Mom's side hair thins. So yeah, it's not bad now, but in 20 to 30 years, it will be horrible if I'm still alive. Story 79. My grandpa on dad's side was tall 6'1". Grandma was 5'1". My dad, his firstborn, is the average of the two, 5'6". My uncle, grandpa's second son, is 6'2". Mom is 5'0". I'm the average of my parents, 5'3". My wife is shorter. Kids are bound to be even shorter. Mom has bad teeth, which I and my kids inherited. Dad has male pattern baldness handed down over 10 generations, which I've inherited. I've been wearing glasses for the last 30 years. Mom's parents have diabetes, and now I've got high blood sugar. Welcome to my life. Story 80. My mom's side gave me hemophilia B. Bleeding takes hours to stop for nosebleeds. Scoliosis from my dad's side. Horrible eyesight from mom's side. Did not get my dad's side color blindness. Scoliosis sometimes gives me migraines when I have to stand for too long or bad posture. Story 81. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm genetically missing a tooth. It's not that jarring. It looks like a normal middle of the teeth tooth gap, but it also gave me a bit of an overbite, which makes my face look kinda baby-like, and I'm not a fan. Story 82. A ton of diseases in my genes. My dad's side of the family had a lot of cousin marriages over the past 1,000 years. Let's just say that every time I go to the doctor for an annual physical and they take my family history of diseases, I have a long list saved on my phone that I show them. And the few things I don't have on my dad's side, I have them on my mom's side. Story 83. I have very strong calves, courtesy of my dad's side of the family, which means even a little bit of fat on my legs looks very significant. On the plus side, my weight distribution over the rest of my body is pretty even. Story 84. My mom grew up in the Philippines and is completely hairless. My dad is a gorilla. I sadly have hairy legs and armpits and even a little matching bunny tail of hair on my lower back from my dad. Was hard growing up not knowing how to shave properly because my mom never needed to. Story 85. With the exception of eating disorders, apparently it's a must that every blood-related family member has to at least have one mental disorder, if not more. Let's see what I rolled. 5 mental disorders and a learning disability? That seems a bit over the top. Okay, so I must get one super op trait right? A body that physically doesn't let you die of anything but old age. What kind of twisted hand is this? Story 86. Really bad psoriasis that started rearing its ugly head in my late 30s and just getting worse. Had some at a very early age and it went away by the time I was 10. Was born with 2 pre-auricular pits, which most likely means there are issues with my urinary tract or renal system. Grew up with painful urination and my parents scaring me away from going to the doctor. They were poor amongst other issues. Became a life-threatening issue in my mid-30s, but luckily I'm okay now. Choose not to have kids because of it. No need to pass my genes on to someone that will suffer. Story 87. Height, I'm 5'8", and most of my male fam is 5'10", or taller. Also, receding hairline or baldness affects like 3 of us. To put into perspective, from my anecdotal point of view, my mom has 22 brothers and sisters, and my dad has well over 60 first and second cousins, as well as 12 nieces and nephews. I have a lot of cousins to compare myself to. I did get hazel blue eyes, although most have brown eyes. Story 88. Amazing genes for survival. I served in the infantry and the military, and I swear, my genes were built for traversing long distances, carrying weight with limited food, chalk, water, sleep. Those genes are horrible for living in the modern world, though. I'm a 6'1", first 200 lb man who exercises a shitload. I legit don't need more than 2,000 calories a day. If I consume more than that, I'll get fat. The majority of my family is like this. Story 89. My parents grew up in the 1970s. Back in those days, adults smoked indoors, and as a result, my parents were exposed to toxic chemicals, cigarette smoke. Not only did they develop addictions themselves, but they continued to expose themselves to toxic chemicals while mom was pregnant with me, and as a result, I was born with autism. I had to spend my life in special education classes because of it and received bullying from others due to it. Having autism sucks, for me at least. Story 90. My grandmother had type 1 diabetes. I have lupus IBD and PSC, all autoimmune disorders that can be genetic. Not that I'd wish to get sick or am saying anyone's health issues are easy, but it would be nice to only have to say one thing that most people know of and doctors are all familiar with. Story 91. I have red hair and hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Just one of those factors would mean my body wouldn't process painkillers or anesthesia the same way as most other people. But with both, it's even more unpredictable. And thanks to EDS, I also have epilepsy, interstitial cystitis, endometriosis, PCOS, chronic migraines, scoliosis, lumbar spondylitis, rheumatoid arthritis, and hypothyroidism. Story 92. I run to fat and can turn potato-shaped quicker than a blink. Also, I tolerate whiskey really well. Until I don't, then I'm telling the truth. Edit. I'm somewhat embarrassed at my flippant response. Everyone else gave serious and sad answers, but don't blame my inability to read a room on genetics. That's on me. Story 93. Heart issues on both sides, but the women tend to fare well. Myself being a woman, I'm hopefully in clear. All the ladies in my family lived into their 90s. The men tend to have to watch it or have heart attacks and bypasses pretty early on. Story 94. My dad's side of the family had non-white teeth, what I would call yellow, that changed to brown with bad habits. When I was a kid, I got teased and told I don't brush my teeth because I never had and never will have white teeth. That actually made me take really good care of them because I was so paranoid about them discoloring more. My son has beautiful pearly whites, and my daughter inherited my dull yellow color. Sucks. She smiles and laughs all the time and has this light in her, and I hope it doesn't get destroyed by mean kids like mine did. I still can't smile without immediately feeling like I look gross. Story 95. My teeth were pretty horrible. I needed braces for quite a while. I got my eyesight from my mom, so I can't read anything further than 6 inches from my face. I got my grandfather's early balding. It started just as my beard fully grew in, as if I could only be blessed with one or the other. I'm not sure how genetic it is, but I can't feel full. I just keep eating until my stomach hurts, and that's when I've eaten enough. I've started finishing B meals before that point, but it still really sucks cleaning up after dinner and feeling hungry even though I ate twice as much as anyone else. As an extra bonus, I have to be really particular about the kind of watch I wear. Both my grandma and I can only wear certain kinds of watches, or they die within 2 or 3 weeks. Edit. All in all, I think I'm actually pretty blessed when it comes to my genetic faults. I'm relatively tall, have a fast metabolism, don't have any kind of disabilities, physical or mental, and am pretty smart and athletic. I can do most things better than an average person, but against someone who is relatively passionate in a field, I could even come close. Story 96. Got my mom's youthful skin, which you think would be great. I still look 30 in my 50s. How do you keep your skin youthful? Oil. But I got too much of it. Combine that with skin that doesn't shed fast enough and an overactive immune system that goes bonkers at the first sight of bacteria, and guess what you get? It took over 30 years of trial and error to finally crack the secret code on how to control my face body acne. I'm like 99% clear now compared to before. But missed one day? Story 97. Horrible genetic tooth issues. All of my baby teeth had to be pulled because the roots didn't dissolve, and all of my adult teeth had minimal to no enamel. So I'm in the middle of putting a new car's worth of money into my mouth. Also something called Hermansky-Pudlak syndrome that was like a 1 in a million quirky catch on a test that my family didn't even know about. Thankfully, it was one of the non-fatal versions, as they caught it, after the version that gives you pulmonary fibrosis would have killed me. Story 98. I'm 5'11", balding, and have long, skinny arms and skinny ankles and high calves and low arches, and I waddle when I walk to do an imbalance and curve in my lower. And the points where my muscles meet are weird. I forgot the bodybuilder term for it. I have long biceps, so even I work them to failure. My peak is non-existent, same with my legs, except for my traps, and back my chest is hard AF to grow, because of hypermobile elbows and impingement. Story 99. I have a rare disease called retinitis pigmentosa that's causing me to slowly go blind. Nobody in my immediate or extended family had ever heard of it, but I have a recessive gene, and we later discovered one of my dad's zillion cousins does also have RP, but didn't have the resources to ever see a doctor and figure it out. So he just lived his whole life as an eventually blind person. I'm 35. Story 100. My dad's family has beautiful, flawless skin. My grandma's in her 60s and she's just now starting to get crow's feet. Nobody has acne, my dad's brother once said. He doesn't even wash his face. He puts coconut oil on his face before bed, and he lets his morning shower rinse it off, but he doesn't even scrub it. Like these people don't get pimples or wrinkles or blemishes or anything. My mom's family is the opposite. Guess whose side I take after? I'm nearly 27 with the acne of a 13-year-old, cystic acne no less. Nothing has ever helped. I've been on every prescription wash, scrub, injection, and pill you can think of, and nothing. I even went homeopathic for a minute there, and it didn't help. I literally have a prescription body wash. At this point, it's just part of me. I don't even think I'd recognize myself without a face full of acne. Story 101. All the men on both sides, my dad, my parents' dads, and some of my great-G parents had heart failure and died 30s, 40s. Knowing that I kept pretty good shape and active. Still ended up needing quad bypass at 56, almost 2 years ago. But now back in even better shape than I was before the surgery. Older brother still alive at 63 yo. He developed IR heartbeat in mid-50s. We both laugh that maybe we got a bit of the female longevity. They all go late 80s, early 90s, with zero exercise and smoking for decades. Hard to outrun her genes. Story 102, my tummy pooch. There are pics of my mom when she weighed 90 kilograms and was in great shape. She's small, and her lower stomach is still concave. The first time I complained, she was like, "If you figure out how to change the trait, please let me know." I never have. It's just how we're shaped. Story 103. My mom's side of the family has perfect toothpaste commercial teeth. My father's side of the family does not. I ended up with perfectly straight bottom teeth, and while my top teeth are also perfectly straight, they are also perfectly spaced out, like they all just wanted to barely touch. It makes flossing easy or unnecessary. Luckily, my body compensated by making me basically unable to smile in a way where you even see my top teeth, just the bottom ones. Story 104. I'm having surgery on the 21st for a duplicating cyst. Was told it was congenital. I had it when my mom was still pregnant with me. Usually presents when you are a child. It's attached to the outside of my colon and is about 6x4x4. Also, I have at least 4 diagnosed autoimmune diseases. And I'm a downwinder from Hanford. Hanford released radioactive iodine in the late 50s. Everyone in my family has some kind of thyroid issue. Story 105. Good chunk of my mom's side of the family were alcoholics with behavior problems. I never got into the booze or gambling like they did, but did end up with ADHD, anxiety, and depression. Didn't get treated or diagnosed until my 20s because my mom's cunt mother was one of those ignorant clowns who believed quack like sugar makes you hyper. On top of that, I didn't find out until about a decade ago from my mom that my bio-father had some serious mental issues like schizophrenia and was on some serious meds, even got hospitalized a few times when I was a baby. Also cancer. Bio-father died of lung cancer, grandpa of colon cancer, grandma with breast cancer. Great uncle had pancreatic cancer. Even a distant cousin died young from brain cancer. If I ever get diagnosed with cancer, I'm at the point where I just want to be like, give me morphine until I don't wake up, because this place. Story 106. My dad only produces short children. My oldest brother is like less than 5 foot tall, and he's like 30. My second brother is like 5'6". I'm lucky to be woman, because I'm 5'4". Oh, and also, I'm the only one who got the obese gene, gets sunburned in half a second, pretty much allergic to everything. And on top of that, I got PCOS. Story 107. Sweaty palms and feet, no matter the temperature, stress, or anything. I just have to think about sweaty palms. And it could be in the Siberian winter, and it'll be sweaty and clammy for the rest of the day. The second thing is monthly ulcers. Ever since I was a kid, 2 to 3 at a time. It's an autoimmune thing, but somehow, for my dad, it switched off in his mid-20s, and he stopped getting them. I'm in my mid-20s now, and I haven't eaten since yesterday morning because the ulcers are a 2010 pain every single time it comes into contact with anything. Story 108. Inherited my grandmother's hair and every single one of my mother's autoimmune and gastrointestinal disorders. Found out a few months ago that my great-grandparents were first cousins, which explains all the mental illness on my dad's side of the family. Story 109. My cousin bought this up to me at Christmas a couple years ago. My mom's side all have depression, anxiety, and ADHD, autism. I was lucky to dodge EDS. Legit me and all my cousins, aunts on that side of the family are on one of two SSRIs. On my dad's side, we got even more depression, as well as dyslexia, bipolar disorder, and OCD. I'm honestly lucky to have missed those last two. Then on top of that, you can add in the heart disease. My paternal grandfather died in his 60s, and the inability to grow facial hair until the age of 35. Honestly, though, what I'm most pissed off about is that both of my parents have awesome curly hair. My brother has gorgeous ringlets, but my hair is just barely wavy. My mom's whiteness canceled out my melanin by the time I hit puberty. Though, to be fair, I also don't spend a lot of time in the sun, so my Maori genetics only shine through when it comes to giving me thighs like tree trunks. Story 110. My body runs so damn hot at all times, so I'm almost never comfortable outside of home, unless it's basically winter. The majority of people I've ever met seem to all be the type that feel cold easily, so they usually get catered to. Meanwhile, I was already sweating before they turned the heat up, or when I'm already in the minimum amount of clothing I can wear. I'm not sure what the deal is, but I've always been like this. And my father was too. Story 111. I have a gap between my big toe and the next one that's pretty big. I gave it to my daughter. She also got the weird dimple above the butt crack that has followed from my grandpa to my dad, to me to her. None of my brothers have this. I was worried when my daughter gave birth to my grandson that his other grandma would be mad at me for giving him funny feet and a funny butt crack. Turns out the baby's dad has the same funny toes. How weird. Which baby got two. And no funny butt crack, so I'm in the clear. Story 112. I have a gap between my big toe and the next one that's pretty big. I gave it to my daughter. She also got the weird dimple above the butt crack that has followed from my grandpa to my dad to me to her. None of my brothers have this. I was worried when my daughter gave birth to my grandson that his other grandma would be mad at me for giving him funny feet and a funny butt crack. Turns out the baby's dad has the same funny toes. How weird. Which baby got two, and no funny butt crack, so I'm in the clear. Story 113. My dad is 6'2", my mom is 5'11", my younger sisters are 5'8" and 6'0" accordingly. I had a genetic mutation that caused me to be born with multiple birth defects, including sheet ribs and an extra thumb, which may actually be a genetic advantage. However, the worst was in my spine, which made it so that I'm 5'6", male, and have been experiencing chronic back pain since I was 8. Story 114. The potential for a whole host of medical issues such as multiple cancers, heads, POTS, ADHD, autism, MDD, and a disaster's worth of others. However, I also don't know 50% of my genetics, as I've never met my biodad, and I've only met my aunt on that side once, so that's just things I have or have the potential for on that side. Only the MDD came from my mom's side, confirmed as ADHD, POTS, and heads. Story 115. Just got gene testing. All my siblings and I have the gene mutation BAP1, whereas most people have a less than 1% chance of developing skin cancer at some point. We have a 25% chance of getting it. It also makes us prone to mesothelioma and lung cancer, which killed my dad, my uncle, and their dad. His side of the family screwed us over, and my dad ran off on my mom when I was 2. Thanks for nothing, Pops. Story 116. I'm fairly decent looking, good skin, great hair, fairly nice bone structure, naturally muscular, and on the taller side for my ethnicity, athletic, pretty smart, and so on. But my body hates me. I have autoimmune disease. My brain hates me, neurodivergent, and my feet suck. Constant pain because they're weirdly shaped. Story 117. After a literal millennium of native Hawaiians and one mixed black Hispanic dude, my grandma married an Irish guy, and he straight up deleted the melanin. My bio mom was Xerox white, and even though she accidentally acquired me from a Persian dude, I have to use the palest or second palest shade of most makeup concealers, Shea powders. I have the height, the curves, and weirdly the teeth and bone structure, but the tan has fucked off to hell, never to be retrieved. Story 118. Well, my brother and I have a standing back and forth chat over who gets what next. Between the autoimmune diseases, high blood pressure, random mental issues, and heart attacks, we aren't really surprised when something new pops up. But it is fun to tell people that exploding head syndrome runs in the family. Story 119, I got the bald from my dad. No one on my mom's side is bald, but about 40% of the men I have met on my dad's side are bald, and they are Mexican. So not only was I cursed with baldness, I got cursed with high blood pressure from inheriting jalapeno blood and enjoying spicy foods too much. XD Story 120. My dad's side of the family are notoriously late for everything, and my mom's side is very impatient. I'm always late, but you better not keep me waiting. ETA. Cancer. Lots and lots of cancer. My dad died at 56. His sisters, 28 and 78. Another brother and sister both beat it. Now it's hitting the cousins so far. 4, including myself, have been diagnosed but survived. Colon for the boys, breast for the gals. Story 121. Nothing, I'm pretty great. Edit. I lied. I have telephonophobia. I've grown out of most of my in-person social anxiety, but speaking on the phone makes my anxiety level go up immediately if I know I have to make a phone call. To the point where I fail to get across things I want to say on the phone because I get nervous and choke low. Story 122. Hair loss. Have 2 brothers who are completely bald. Father is thinning. I'm 90% fine still, but using finasteride plus minoxidil for the rest of my life. Teeth. Both parents, terrible teeth. I still have decent teeth. Let's just say I'm a good customer at my dentist and brushing at least 3 times a day. Eyes, 4 of both eyes, meaning I'm using contacts for the rest of my life. Also have some 1/1000 chance condition where my chest ribs aren't aligned, so there's a dent. No matter how much I work out, the chest will never look good unless I go through some freak surgery. Story 123. I'm tall and well-built at 6'1", but I have the head of someone that should be like 7'2", 8'1", head size, and I'm pretty sure it was mostly grown around 13. I stopped being able to wear off-the-shelf hats of any kind for Team Hates fitted, or one fits all around 11 years old. I have the wingspan of 6'5" as opposed to 6'1". Comes in handy. Maybe I resemble the frame of a gorilla. I guess I can't complain. These days they sell hats for that hat size online, so at least I can get them somewhere once tariffs are over with. Story 124. I have a congenital birth defect where my left ear is closed and somewhat deformed. My sister has the same deformity with her right ear, so I call us the bookends. I barely have a neck, which is now arthritic, and I've developed the ultimate in feminine attractiveness, a hump. My neck issues contribute to bad headaches. I also have TMJ issues, as do my sister and her daughter. Our whole upper body structure is just wonky. Also, my whole life I've been terribly self-conscious about the perpetually dark bags under my eyes. Yes, I know there's makeup, but the amount I have to spackle on to cover up makes me uncomfortable. How I snagged a handsome husband, I can't know. Story 125. I'm 30F and just been diagnosed with alopecia. Though I think I've been losing my hair for at least 5 years. My dad started losing his hair when he was a teenager, and his mom's hairline was very similar to mine now. Also, both grandmothers had breast cancer, with one dying due to it. All their sisters had breast cancer, and my great-grandmother died of it before the age of 50, so it's probably gonna get me too. If breast cancer doesn't get me, maybe a heart attack will, since both grandfathers died of one, and my dad has had one before the age of 50.